All right, well, hello, my name is Mackenzie Mansell, and I will be your host for Fostering Belonging Through Welcoming Activities. This workshop will be delivered in English. There is a live French translation available by simply clicking on the globe icon with interpretation written below it. We will have time to answer your questions towards the end of the workshop after all our presenters have presented. Creating an environment where newcomers feel a sense of belonging is not just a goal, it's a fundamental building block of thriving, inclusive communities. Our workshop will be co-facilitated by 3 dynamic subject matter experts who will explore the importance of welcoming initiatives and activities beyond mere reception to create spaces where newcomers truly feel at home. Our first presenter is Nyamulola Kambanji, WOW Project Manager with Ottawa Local Immigration Partnership. She holds a Bachelor of Business Administration with a specialization in economics and electronic commerce, earned from the University of New Brunswick. Over her remarkable career spanning 23 years, she has cultivated a wealth of experience across diverse sectors, including banking, research, and not-for-profit organizations, with a substantial footprint in both Zambia and Canada. Her expertise encompasses a multifaceted skill set that spans community partnership development, program management, research, and photography. In her most recent professional chapter, she has been involved in several key government-funded projects in Ottawa, all dedicated to enhancing immigrant integration. Over the last 7 years, she has taken the lead on the Welcoming Ottawa Week, or WOW initiative, playing a pivotal role in its expansion and subsequent achievements. Under her lead, WOW has evolved into a flagship initiative whose model now extends well beyond the borders of Ottawa. Beyond her professional endeavors, Nyamulola's passion for creative expression shines through her work as a freelance photographer. Her captivating photography has graced the Faces and Stories of a Welcoming City photo exhibit from 2016 to 2019. Furthermore, Nyamulola is the visionary founder behind Immigrants of Ottawa, a photography project that magnifies the contributions and success stories of new Canadians. Our second presenter is Victoria Watts. She is a business growth and retention specialist for the city of Belleville. She brings to this position a variety of skills and insights, having over a decade of experience in law, entrepreneurship, and community development. After graduating with an honors BA from the University of Toronto, Victoria worked as a refugee resettlement worker and then as a researcher for the Status of Women Canada, now Women and Gender Equality Canada. She went on to earn an LLB from the University of Ottawa and has practiced law in the areas of social assistance, labor and employment, and human rights. She is the co-founder of a family-run food manufacturing company, having built that business from a retail store to a national brand, and continues to mentor and coach female entrepreneurs as a business growth advisor with PARO Center for Women's Enterprise. Victoria is dedicated to the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and is passionate about collaborating with organizations and business leaders to help them achieve these goals in their workplace. Our third presenter is Catherine Kat Fisher-Andrews, who has worked in settlement, immigration, and related international fields for over 18 years. In her current role as the Quinte Local Immigration Partnership, or QLIP, coordinator at the Quinte Immigration Services, QUIS, in Belleville, Kat coordinates partnerships with over 80 stakeholders in the Quinte region, including Hastings and Prince Edward counties, Cramahe, Brighton, and Greater Napanee. The Quinte Local Immigration Partnership endeavors to strengthen the role communities play in serving and integrating immigrants in the region, including promoting community awareness about newcomers and their needs, as well as supporting coordination efforts of newcomer settlement and integration. Kat has worked in several roles at QUIS, including coordination of several QUIS programs, as well as in settlement work. She has also worked for the International Student Center of Queen's University and Loyalist College. So with all that said, please join me in welcoming our speakers, and Nyamulola, over to you to kick us off.
All right, so thank you, Mackenzie, for the wonderful introduction there. I hope everybody can hear me. You know, my voice sometimes tends to drop a little bit, but please do let me know. I'll just bring up my presentation here, so just give me one moment. Okay, can you all see my presentation?
Yeah, it's on there.
It's on there? Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so as Mackenzie mentioned, so I'm the lead for Welcoming Ottawa Week, which is an initiative of the Ottawa Local Immigration Partnership here in Ottawa. And I'll just provide an overview of what that initiative is about. So WOW was co-created by all the partners at the Social Civic Integration Sector table as an implementation of the priority within the Ottawa Immigration Strategy. And the core goals of the WOW are twofold: to create opportunities for newcomers to forge connections in the Ottawa community. And then the second goal was for Ottawans to convey their genuine respect and welcome to newcomers. In the last 10 years, WOW has grown tremendously, both in the number of activities hosted by all the partners, but also in the quality and the reach of the engagements. So the way OLIP grows is intentional and is driven by the feedback we receive from partners and WOW participants. And finally, WOW is powered by partnership. The initiative is co-created by the partners, and it continues to be designed by the partners. The WOW activities are hosted by all the partners, businesses, government departments, the diplomatic communities, and the general public at large. And of course, the activities that are hosted during WOW are free for participants to attend. So as I mentioned before, the WOW growth is curated intentionally by partners. So since WOW was launched, all the partners have purposely built into WOW new components that advance the objectives of WOW. Our purpose-driven growth can be seen in this slide. Almost every year, a new component was added, and I'll go over in a little bit more detail some of the components that you see on this slide in the next few slides. So this was the proclamation of WOW at City Hall in 2013. The former mayor of Ottawa, Jim Watson, proclaimed the last week of June of each year as the Welcoming Ottawa Week in Ottawa, in which the mayor called upon all residents to embrace the welcoming attitudes, engage with, and celebrate the important role that immigration and diversity play in the social and economic development of our community. Now, as one of the welcoming activities or attitudes or components that were added to the WOW initiative was the Welcoming Ottawa Ambassador Awards. And established in 2014, the Ambassador Program recognizes the importance of welcoming attitudes towards newcomers and the critical role that social connections play in newcomers' settlement and integration. So each year, the OLIP Secretariat calls on immigrants living in Ottawa to nominate individuals who make a difference in their role, in their new lives here in Ottawa. So a committee comprised of diverse Ottawans and OLIP partners review the nominations and select 5 individuals who become the Welcoming Ottawa Ambassadors. And the award recipients are then announced by the Mayor of Ottawa during the Mayor's annual breakfast during the launch of Welcoming Ottawa Week. Another welcoming activity that we added in 2016 as a component of WOW is the Immigrant Heritage Walking Tours. Now, we started the tours as a pilot project with the plan to host them as a special OLIP activity for the celebration of Canada's 150th anniversary. However, the tours were so popular that we decided to make them a permanent feature of WOW. The Immigrant Heritage Walking Tours are a joint collaboration with Heritage Ottawa, with significant contributions from the City of Ottawa. Conceptually, the tours allow citizens, Ottawa citizens, to discover the stories and the contributions of successive cohorts of immigrants to Ottawa's historic development. So expert guides and historians, they co-develop their itineraries. The tours are also designed to work like many immersion programs to expose Ottawa's histories that are not sufficiently told. To quote one tour participant who said, "I will never walk these streets again." So the tours are usually hosted in significant neighborhoods in Ottawa, so Chinatown, Little Italy, Vanier, and Byward Market, if you're familiar with Ottawa's neighborhoods. The WOW discoveries go beyond the Immigrant Heritage Walking Tours. The annual WOW calendar also includes guided tours to Indigenous history in the region, led by expert historians of Indigenous populations. We also have guided bus tours for newcomers that are hosted by the mayors of Ottawa and Gatineau. And the picture that you see in this slide shows the participants of the Ottawa-Gatineau Immigrant Bus Tour at one of the stops at City Hall with the former mayor, Jim Watson. Again, so culture and art have always been built into WOW since inception. We understand that arts and culture to be effective mediums for authentic connection. Through art and shared cultural activities, people are able to communicate at a deeper level, a level that transcends differences in background, status, and culture. Specific examples of WOW culture and activities are special exhibits mobilized by WOW, such as the exhibit by the Amnesty International on people's experiences in refugee camps. So we've had Amnesty International do a simulation of a refugee camp and just outside City Hall. The picture that you see in this slide is a public art mural that was covered by one of our Immigrant Heritage Walking Tours in 2019. Photography is also another form of art we use during WOW. Each year we photograph the award recipients that I talked about in earlier slides with their nominees, and we showcase their portraits and the stories as part of the Faces and Stories of a Welcoming City exhibit, which then acts as a traveling exhibit starts off at City Hall. And then we've also hosted, the exhibit has also been hosted at the public libraries, as well as some of the local museums here in Ottawa. Storytelling is another form of art that we use. The WOW calendar often includes storytelling sessions to do a sort of deep dive into the aspects of immigrant integration. Poetry contests is another form of poetry activity we have had in the past. In fact, we're very proud to have inspired an original poem by Jamal Jackson, who's Ottawa's poet laureate. Concerts by internationally renowned pianists have also been part of Ottawa's, WOW's calendar of events. The transformation mural was commissioned by a local artist from Colombia. The mural was also co-created with local Indigenous artists and realized with the help of 68 volunteers from 34 countries of origin at 39 Pentex sessions during the summer of WOW. And the mural was unveiled at one of our launches during WOW. Sporting activities are other ways in which we bring, we encourage interactions between local residents and newcomers. While sporting activities include everything from soccer, cricket, Tai Chi as activities that are included in our calendar. While also supports a vibrant and learning community through conferences that are hosted by different community partners, dialogues. We have activities in the form of seminars and workshops, book launches, film screenings, documentaries, and storytelling sessions. WOW has also gone international. We have a strong participation from the diplomatic community. Oftentimes during WOW, embassies participate in WOW to host cultural events such as food tastings, film screenings, concerts, and open house events. We also have senior officials from the embassies that join the mayor's breakfast as a kickstart to WOW. So in terms of, so what are the characteristics of a welcoming city and how does Ottawa measure? We did pull some statistics from some recent work that was done by some OLIP partners, and some of the characteristics that were listed of a welcoming community and were ranked from 1 to 17. And I'm happy to share the PowerPoint presentation if anybody wants to take a closer look at the characteristics. And so you can see from this slide that employment opportunities ranks at the top of these characteristics, with affordable housing, education, fostering social capital, social engagement opportunities at fit. So I won't go through all of them, but you can see that social engagements do rank quite up there. In fact, at the top 5 of the rankings, and you also see at number 6 there the positive attitudes towards immigrants, cultural diversity, and the presence of newcomers in the community. All right, so now how does WOW impact? How does the activities of WOW impact the long-term goals for WOW? We conduct an annual survey to keep in touch with the experiences of obviously of all our key stakeholders, and consistently our survey results show that WOW activities are contributing to the desired outcomes and to the desired impact of connection, recognition, and belonging. So again, I won't go through all the statistics, but you can clearly see that WOW activities do contribute towards promoting WOW, Ottawa, as a vibrant and diverse cosmopolis where newcomers can thrive. We also know that a lot of participants of WOW feel an enhanced sense of belonging, as well as an enhanced sense connection among people during those activities. And so, so WOW continues to grow. We have identified that our growth will expand in 2 areas. We've moved from WOW being a 1-week sort of series of activities during the month of June, the last week of June, to WOW happening throughout the year. So we started in 2018, expanding those activities from the 4 and now to throughout the year. So you should be able to see that as we move forward. We've also expanded through space. So starting in 2018, Welcoming Ottawa Week extended collaborations with local lip. So we partnered with Lanark Renfrew counties And we plan to work towards more regional partnerships with other LIPs, because the curiosity is there. People appreciate the efforts that and the results that are coming out of these WOW activities, and so we are expanding. And so I'll leave it at that for now, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any at the end of all the presentations. So thank you, Mackenzie. Back to you.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're just going to move on to our next presenter, which will be Kat Fisher-Andrews. Over to you, Kat.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Just going to share my screen. That was a great presentation from Nyamulola, sorry. Oh. Sorry, I froze there for a second. I apologize. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, Kat.
Okay, sorry about that. That actually may happen. My internet is not very good. So I will try to make sure that everyone can hear everything. I was saying that was a great presentation from Nyamulola. Thank you so much. I took lots of notes. My name is Kat. I'm the coordinator of the Quinte Local Immigration Partnership, which is located in Belleville and housed at Quinte Immigration Services. It's also on the traditional territory of the Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee people. Mackenzie was telling you about our catchment area earlier, and we have over 80 partners in the region as part of our LIP. And today we're going to be highlighting specifically our partnership with the City of Belleville and our work together for the implementation of a workplace inclusion charter in the City of Belleville. Oh, sorry. Next slide, if I can get that to work there. So our presentation is twofold today, and I'll be looking at what exactly is a workplace inclusion charter and what are the benefits. And then Victoria Watts, who's the Business Growth and Retention Specialist from the Economic Development Department of the City of Belleville, will be looking at how the charter has been implemented in the city and some of the best practices. And then hopefully we'll have time for questions and discussion. So to provide a little context, that we know of, the first workplace inclusion charter in Canada was created by the Bow Valley Immigration Partnership in 2017 in Alberta. And local immigration partnerships have been central in spearheading workplace inclusion charters. And at the moment, there are something like, I believe, 9+ workplace inclusion charters that have been implemented in cities or regions across Canada. If I'm wrong about that and someone else knows, they can correct me. That's the information I have. We were inspired by the Workplace Inclusion Charter of the City of Belleville, as well as the National Workplace Inclusion Forum from 2021. So it's fairly new, and we know that regions are implementing their charters slightly differently, and Victoria will be discussing Belleville's strategy and perspective on the charter in our community. But to go back to what it is exactly, simply put, it's a declaration signed and committed to by employers and community agencies to create and uphold inclusive workplaces and advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in the region and through the workplace. We believe it allows for a first step for embracing inclusion within workplaces. We hope that committed employers can develop and implement an action plan that focuses on the populations within their companies that face systemic barriers. For us to implement this project, we worked together with the Economic Development Partner of the City of Belleville, and they developed the Workplace Inclusion Charter. And then as QLIP, we did a presentation or a deputation to the Belleville City Council in March 2023, and the Workplace Inclusion Charter was unanimously adopted by the City Council, which was a really big boon for us because it happened very quickly, and we're really pleased about that. Talking a little bit about the benefits of a workplace inclusion charter. What we're really talking about is how equity diversity and inclusion work in workplaces and what it means for companies. There are a multitude of benefits. Essentially, people want their presence and their contributions to be valued. Inclusive, diverse, and equitable workplaces benefit the entire community by allowing for that community to feel welcoming and promote a sense of belonging for the people living in it. Belonging is important because it makes people feel valued. It increases positive mental health, and it contributes to a healthier community in general. Diversity is a key element that will contribute to strength and prosperity of a community. So when a workplace is diverse, there's a range of human demographics within that workplace, which does allow for a broader range of skills within the workforce. And it also brings a variety of experiences, ideas, and perspectives. And equity recognizes that workers have different needs and expectations, and those can be accommodated through inclusion. So each employee may have different circumstances that could result in unequal access to opportunities or resources. But equity puts everyone at the same starting line relative to the position that they hold. There are a host of recent studies posted in journals such as Forbes, Harvard Business Review, and McKinsey and Company, just to name a few, that demonstrate that creating more engaged and productive employees through inclusion increases productivity in the workplace. So EDI has been touted as a key economic strategy to improve community well-being and economic advancement. And it's been proven to improve talent acquisition, profitability, opportunities to break into new markets, and improve employee satisfaction and engagement. And it also helps companies to maintain a positive reputation by avoiding any misjudgments related to diversity and inclusion. So essentially what I'm talking about is the acknowledgement of inclusion and EDI practices has been proven to boost the reputation of a company. So when they have a diverse workforce, it's much easier for a diverse customer base to relate to their company and feel comfortable with the company. So many companies recognize that their current customer base is diverse in general. So they ultimately want to appeal to that diverse customer base. And let's talk a little bit about employers. So when we talk about employers, they play a really important role in the facilitation of inclusion for community and the residents of a community. And I kind of think of it this way. So generally, as Canadians, we spend about half of our waking hours on weekdays working. So most people would prefer to spend their productive time in a place that is inclusive, where they feel they have a contribution and a sense of belonging. Employers have a role in providing that sense of belonging to the community because they are a central aspect of most people's daily lives. And McKinsey and Company has talked about that, and they say that the most diverse companies are now more likely than ever to outperform less diverse companies. So there are a few other reasons why implementing a workplace inclusion charter in our community and in communities across Canada is beneficial. And I'm going to look at a few of them here just briefly. So what we're looking at right now is the growth rate, or the vulnerable people that are in the community. And I'm looking only at statistics from the Belleville region. So I'm looking at these statistics that you see here are mostly from the 2021 census. And I'm looking at the increases between the 2016 census and the 2021 census in terms of the populations that you see here. The only one that doesn't fit into that is the LGBTQ2S+ population, or the group of people that identify in that way. We don't have statistics from the census for that, but we did talk to the Bay of Quinte Pride Committee, and they told us that it's approximately 6%, which we do actually think it's higher than that in our community. But you can see what's here, but I'll go over the most prominent or relevant ones for this presentation. The total amount of immigrants has increased in the Belleville region from 2016 to 2021 by 52%. Racialized persons have increased by 80%. And the most impressive number is that temporary immigrants in the Belleville area have increased by 242%. That's generally because we have a really large international student population, but it does actually speak to the need in our community. The second reason is immigration will be the primary source of population increase in Canada in the future. So looking at some of the targets, particularly for the next 3 years, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada their final target for 2025 will be 500,000 permanent residents, which, you know, in the large population of Canada doesn't seem like a lot, but when you look at the previous intake of permanent residents, it's a huge number. And looking at the next 20 years or over the next 20 years, in under 20 years, half the Canadian population will be immigrants and their Canadian-born children. In about 20 years, racialized youth will make up a higher proportion of our population. And over the next 25 years, and this is a provincial government statistic, net migration may account for up to 86% of all population growth in Ontario. So we see that this is really increasing. Additionally, locally at Loyalist College, our local college, we've seen a steady increase in international students going from 85 in 2015 to over 1,200 in 2022, and it does continue to grow. The third reason that we're looking at is that systemic discrimination continues to exist Canada-wide. So vulnerable groups continue to be the focus of inclusion strategies nationwide. They continue to experience systemic barriers to employment, high rates of unemployment, disproportionate representation in low pay and low status jobs. And many of the groups that I didn't mention in the previous slides can also experience regular discrimination and would benefit from equitable and inclusive practices in the workplace. The last factor is what we call intersecting factors. And I want to talk just briefly for a second about that. So this is a term that's intersectionality is a term that was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, who is an American civil rights advocate. She coined that term, in 1989. So it's a really quite an old term that we've just seen sort of an explosion of use in the last few years. So intersectionality is about how systems of inequality based on gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and abilities intersect in individuals to create further discrimination. So for example, if a person identifies as LGBTQ2S+, has a disability, or is identifies as BIPOC or racialized, then that person has 3 factors that contribute to potential discrimination, and this compounds that person's vulnerability. And this is the purpose of the charter. Well, not the purpose, but this is one of the premises of the charter for the city of Belleville, to ignite action that begins in the workplace and spreads throughout the community. And I've kind of already gone over the importance of ethics and business advantages, but they do go hand in hand. And just to sort of review some of the things that I kind of already touched on, EDI reinvigorates productivity and innovation. So diverse workforce does that for companies. It also opens the doors for organizations to serve broader clientele. So if you have more diverse employees, you have clientele that are going to recognize themselves in that company. It attracts high-level talent and retains expertise, and it boosts employee morale and improves wellness, making employees feel valued. Additionally, it also builds the reputation of your company and the city that you want to live in. A little bit about the role of the local immigration partnership in the Workplace Inclusion Charter. Most of you probably know what an LIP is, but it is a collaborative initiative composed of regional employers, nonprofits, government agencies, educational, healthcare, legal, other types of service providers. And we come together to enhance the region's image as a welcoming community for newcomers, to help promote education skills and experience of newcomers into the community, and help them integrate into the fabric of the community. And we support employers in their efforts to attract, hire, and retain newcomers as strategic members of the workforce. QLIP has the capacity to support and advance a workplace inclusion charter through mobilizing our 80+ community partners. We can provide advocacy support for workplaces and for employees. And we can also provide and advise on resources for working with newcomers. So just briefly, I'm going to touch on a couple of the things that we're doing right now to support the Workplace Inclusion Charter as tools to support that. The first one is QUIS has started a project called the Employer Toolkit for Hiring Newcomers. It's actually a renewal of a previous project we did to ensure that there's better information for employers post-pandemic than there was, say 10 years ago, about working with newcomers. So it's a tool that will provide employers with practical guidance and resources cultural competency information, inclusion and diversity strategy, sorry, and understanding immigration programs that provide talent sourcing. And we already have a project coordinator in place, and we're hoping to launch the employer toolkit this month, a draft of it at least. And the project will end in March 2024. But we're hoping to have like a great document to supply to employers in our region. The other thing that I did want to talk about just before I close out is that we are also having conversations in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce of Belleville and the City of Belleville with employers in the area. About once a month, we're going to have a series of conversations about equity, diversity, and inclusion, what it means, what the Workplace Inclusion Charter is, the tools that employers can use to help support a Workplace Inclusion Charter if they've signed it, and various other aspects of that, of equity, diversity, and inclusion in the community. So with that, I will pass the baton on to Victoria Watts. Oh, I have to stop sharing.
I'm going to unmute myself. Thanks, Kat. 1 second. Sorry, everyone. I don't know why this isn't starting from the beginning. There we go. All right, I'm getting a message, just some instability here. So I think I'm going to just, to make sure that we're all good, I'm just going to stop my video. I hope you don't mind, because I get this message popping up. So, but I will begin. And here we go, Kat. Didn't I say we always end up with some technical difficulties? It's right here.
Do you need some?
Let me just see what's happening. I don't know. It's not moving forward. So we're just going to try it again. Sorry, everyone.
I can also share it if you want, and you can just tell me when to go forward. There you go. You got it.
No. There we go. Got it. All right, everyone, let's begin. So I'm Victoria. I'm from the city of Belleville. I have, this is one of my, it's a new role for me at the city as their business growth and retention specialist. I'm very passionate about this issue and I'm so excited to be a part of this project. So I've taken on this project from our director who began the process with Kat and Quiz. And today I'm going to just walk you through the steps and kind of our reasoning and thinking behind and our whole approach behind the workplace inclusion, implementing the workplace inclusion charter. So why did we want or even entertain the idea of a workplace inclusion charter? For one thing, it's one of our key labor and attraction tools. It's a way to attract labor. Like many of the communities, we also have labor shortages. And we know that having a diverse and inclusive and welcoming community improves our community's overall well-being and makes people want to come and stay here and participate in our community. And grow their families, their businesses, and establish a life here. We also know that it's an increased economic performance, an indicator strategy for us. It's a key economic strategy, as Kat had already mentioned that increases our overall economic performance. We know that when we have inclusive work environments, it brings new talent, it brings broader thinking, more innovation, it improves employee engagement, not only in the workplace, but in their communities, and just generally, community well-being. This in turn lends itself to increase community participation. Having a workplace inclusion charter also is a way of business recognition, which is another tool in our economic development toolkit. Signing the charter is one way that we recognize the important role that employers and businesses play in building a prosperous community where members feel that they belong. And it's a way of celebrating their contributions to the community, as well as a way for them to learn from what other businesses are doing. For me, what really resonates about why the workplace inclusion charter should be in every municipality is that we're public servants, and as a public institution, we want to be a role model and a leader in this space. We want to set an example for other workplaces. We were the first to sign up for the charter, and our commitment to the principles of the charter is something that we talk about within the municipality. It's something that we're constantly striving for and working towards in all levels of our municipality and all our departments. And simply put, we just wanted to start someplace. We wanted to just do something that would get the ball going. And a workplace inclusion charter was a positive first, and a fairly easy step for us to take in keeping the conversation and actually getting people to talk about it, keeping the conversation going, and getting some momentum. And really trying to get our community to really think about these principles and integrating it into their own businesses and workplaces. So who did we work with? We were very deliberate about the partners that we worked with, although we did engage a number of our stakeholders. We did a lot of talking, a lot of listening. We wanted to have a small team, because like I said, we wanted to get things going. And so we were very deliberate about who we worked with. And QUIS, so Quinte United Immigrant Services, was a key partner for us to work with. And what they brought to the table is that they shared the experience of our community and individuals, equity deserving individuals in our community. And they also helped us make the case for the time when we had to make our presentation to council. For our part, what we did as an economic development division is we reviewed other charters. We drafted a charter that worked for us. We looked at what didn't work in other places, and we drafted something that would work with our community. And we communicated it. We put the challenge out to our business community to talk about inclusion and to sign the charter. So how we went about doing this it was fairly straightforward. And I think it's actually really important to discuss, because I think this is where you could get into the weeds, but we really wanted to have a quick win. And we saw the Workplace Inclusion Charter as something that we could get done quickly, but it didn't cause, it wasn't a lot of, I guess, didn't ruffle a lot of feathers. It was something that we could do fairly quickly and that we can easily implement. So we made sure that when we put this out to the community, that our workplaces didn't have to jump through hoops in order to sign on, and to show that their commitment to DEI in their workplace. We also wanted the whole idea of the Workplace Inclusion Charter to be very positive and enabling. We didn't want it to be something that was punitive. I think what happens in this space is, especially when it comes to employers wanting to do right, there's this real perception that they need to do really big things. And it was just too much. And if they didn't meet their goals, then, you know, they're horrible people, this kind of idea. And we really wanted to say, no, no, no. You know what, as a first step, it can be really easy. It's first just, you know, taking this one step, and it's recognizing and having the conversations. And that's what the Workplace Inclusion Charter allows workplaces to do in our community. We wanted it, we recognized that it had to be an incremental growth. We didn't want to go in with, like I said, all of these different steps that people needed to do, tell people, you know, give people a whole lot of tools. We wanted to just get people started on moving forward. And we thought when we instituted this, that this was the first, was a really positive first step that they can take. But most importantly, it was about getting people to focus on DEI and to start having those conversations. We really see that becoming an inclusive workplace is a personal kind of a journey for each of our employers and our workplaces, and that each of them have to do it in their own way and at their own pace. But the Workplace Inclusion Charter is a very simple, easy step for them to move forward. We didn't want to recreate any, any wheels here. We used the 50-30 challenge as a starting point. So like I said, we don't, if you go on the website, there's tools there's the 50-30 challenge. We refer to it right in our charter. And we use that as the basis for which our employers can go in and they can explore even further this entire space. Really key to our involvement here is celebrating the success. So we talk about it whenever we have a signature, someone who's signed on, we do a lot of communication about it. It really is about celebrating the big steps and celebrating the little steps that workplaces are doing in this space. And like I said, again, we had a very small team that actually developed the charter, but in order for us to implement it, we did engage with all of our community partners and stakeholders, and we do use them to help spread the word. And whenever we have the opportunity, we talk about the charter and about inclusion generally. So how we personally, our road to the Workplace Inclusion Charter is that we wanted to champion something that we were very passionate about. DEI is something that I think that municipalities should be championing. We should be speaking about this. We should be working towards this. So it's something that we wanted to just do for our community. We were very committed to the action. So like Kat said, it happened very quickly. We set a goal, we got the right partners in place. We listened, we did our research, we connected, and it started to come together. We got the support of our Economic Development Committee and our council. And then we drafted the charter in partnership. We then presented to council and it was adopted. And how that process went was that Quis made a deputation to council and they painted the landscape as to why this was an important initiative and the benefits. And then our economic development report made the business case for the city of Belleville and asked the city to make a recommendation. Council was the first workplace to sign the Workplace Inclusion Charter. And we also invited other workplaces to sign. We also developed a website with a portal that allowed very easy access to signing. So what happens when a workplace signs on is that they get recognized with their logo being placed on a website. They have a photo opportunity with the mayor. They're presented with certificates, and there's an announcement made at council. From a communications point of view, we have press releases that go out. We have social media that is posted. There's cities, our city, we have a city news bulletin, so it goes right into our newspaper. And like I said, the logo goes right on the website. And here are just some of the pictures that have been taken so far of some of our signatories. So from our perspective, from an economic development response, what we do internally, and we actually get signatories about once every, I would say every week or so, and I just got one today. There's an immediate response to when they sign on. We get a notification. There's a reach out by our communication staff to them, congratulating them and asking for their story and why they wanted to sign on. They're provided, council is provided with announcements of who signed on. And that actually, I'm going to get it in the next slide. It's the next thing that we're dealing with. But we also, the other thing that happens is that with the Workplace Inclusion Charter is that we continue to listen and learn from all our stakeholders, partners in our organizations. We are part of the community practice with other cities that have adopted the Workplace Inclusion Charter, so we're always learning. We market for when we're out talking about our city, about inclusion and Belleville being an inclusive community. We continue to engage our community partners to promote and sign. And we work with our internal communities and colleagues to ensure that our DEI initiatives and goals are being implemented in our top of mind. The other thing that we do is that we plan for the future. This is really just step one in our entire process. We're thinking about how, what our next steps will be, how we can support the Workplace Inclusion Charter in our next year, and how we can better tell the stories of what is happening in the workplaces in our community. And once again, what we really do above all else is we try to keep it positive and not prescriptive. We want people to see this as something that is very accessible and within their reach, and not an obstacle to doing business or to meeting any of their milestones. So how it's going right now is we have about 17 signatories. We constantly talk about inclusion within our different departments. We talk about it publicly and meaningfully in our media, in our photos, and in stories that we tell. It's a topic at every council meeting. There is always something that is presented at council talking about our signatories or some workplace that is doing some good work in this area or on their journeys. We receive reports back from our businesses that they have a sense of pride in what they're doing, and this is something public, and they're very proud of the fact that they can actually say that they are working towards DEI goals. For us as economic developers, it's another touch point for our businesses. It's another business recognition tool. And it's a way for us to be a leader in this space. We have commitments internally with all of our DEI committees, and we're working to align all of our strategic plans with our DEI goals. So what's next for us is that we want to keep the momentum going. We have 17 right now, and it's been a great response for our community, but we want to keep that engagement going. We want to keep sharing. We want to keep talking. We want to reach out to other communities and seeing what they're doing and learn from their success. And we want to keep celebrating our community's success. We continue to work with our partners on additional tools. Chris had mentioned their employer toolkit, putting on some workshops, other initiatives that we are working towards. We've been asked for people who have signed on to do a bit more branding around signing on to the Workplace Inclusion Charter. So we're looking at door decals, logos, websites. These are all things that we're looking to build as part of this initiative. And we're going to be doing an annual evaluation. We're establishing some KPIs. We're looking at doing an online directory and possibly a yearbook. We're looking at ways that we can tell our stories about what our community is doing to be more welcoming and open to our diverse populations that are coming in. And that is our journey with the Workplace Inclusion Charter.
Well, thank you so much to all our presenters. You've shared your insights, strategies. There are some great takeaways to be had from this session for sure. So we have run close to our time, so we won't be taking any questions during the session. However, we hope to send out a resource newsletter following our 2-day virtual summit. And you can also learn more about our speakers by visiting the Feed Loop site. And there's a profile for each speaker featured in your left-hand menu there. So before we close our workshop today, I would just like to thank Nyamulola, Victoria, and Kat again for your time and being here to share in this outstanding workshop. I'd also like to thank all our attendees for joining us today. We hope you will join us again tomorrow for day 2 of the Eastern Ontario Immigrant Attraction and Retention Strategy Virtual Summit. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech. Have a wonderful rest of your day.